Simon Lindley, welcome to the University of Huddersfield.
Thank you very much.
This, I believe, it won't be your first visit at all to the university. You've
No, it isn't.
A number of times over the years. You've supported our organ students over the years. What advice would you give to a young person that's considering playing the organ, or even starting out playing it?
Well, it's quite a physical business, is playing the organ, and it's not, rather like conducting, it's a little bit like boxing, because you do a lot of movement over a small space. The physical business of playing the organ it's very similar in metaphorical terms. It's a bit like the difference between riding a normal bicycle, which is playing a piano, and perhaps riding a penny farthing or one of the more exotic bicycles. It's a question of balance. You've got to be fairly fit, and you've got to be prepared to practice until it cannot possibly go wrong. It's an instrument that can be quite difficult to control, and part of the challenge is making it sound and look effortless. We spend a lot of our time playing in buildings where you can't be seen. So in both your university instruments, for instance, the player can be fully seen by everybody. And I've spent a lot of time, for instance, in St Paul's Hall over the years, examining both for the university students in their degree courses and modules and stages and at the end of their years listening to recitals. But I've also spent many days here for the Royal College of Organists, because it's the main centre outside London for examinations.
And how do you keep fit yourself?
Well,
because you're only a young man.
Well, you see, there we are. I don't keep all that fit, but I walk quite a lot, and I try to eat sensibly. And I always get up early in the morning, and I think the few hours you have to yourself before the day starts is terribly important. Those hours are terribly important. And I find if I can get 20 minutes practice done before 9 o'clock, it's about the equivalent of an hour later on in the day, or even an hour and a quarter. It makes an appreciable difference to practice early and to practice slowly, not to rush at everything. That's part of the thing, I think. And you've got to be good at memorizing things, not so much the music, but if you're a player and you go to a different instrument each time, then your first encounter with it and looking where the layout is very important. And if you're able to take in that really as a glance, more or less, or perhaps in the first 10 minutes, then it's a real advantage to you over somebody else who might take longer to get to know it. And my teacher used to say to me before a concert, don't worry about things, but study the map, the plan of the stops, weeks in advance. And when you get there, either do a couple of minutes or a couple of hours, but don't do in between. In other words, just literally sit there, look at it and do it. And once you work out which stops you're going to use, or spend a couple of hours working hard. But it's not much good doing sort of 50 minutes or an hour, because you're between those two extremes.
You've played on organs throughout the UK, probably abroad as well. Do you have a particular favourite instrument?
That's a very difficult question to answer, but if there was only one that I was allowed to play, I think
desert island organ that you...
Your desert island organ, I think, would be Westminster Cathedral, the Roman Catholic Cathedral, which is a very, very beautiful instrument, and it's very comprehensive. And of course, it's an enormous building. They call it the Drome because in the First World War, the government used to store barrage balloons in the cathedral because it was so tall. And so it became known as the Drome. And I used to assist there when I was a student.
And why do you like that instrument so much? What particular
Because of the colours it makes, the blend. Every stop blends with every other. And your large instrument here at St Paul's is like that in a very different style. And of course that instrument was built in the Queen's Silver Jubilee year and opened in that year. But it must be one of the most played organs in Britain, I think. And it has that quality which the Westminster instrument has of being able to blend sounds together. Nothing jars against anything else.
And do you have a favourite piece that you really like to play? Or do you have a favourite composer, somebody that you feel she writes so well?
Not particularly. I think I like the Belgian music very much. My mother is Belgian, and a lot of my family roots are there, as they are here in the West Riding, in fact just north of Huddersfield. But I think if there was a piece that I had to take with me to a desert island, it would probably be the Elgar Sonata, which is an early work of Elgar's, just before he became really famous. And I was very privileged when I was only about 23 or 24 to play this work at the Promenade concerts in London. And I've never forgotten it, and it was in the sweltering heat in the Albert Hoard. It was the first piece on the programme. But it was a piece, it's a bit like a symphony, not in length, but in the way that the musical themes are treated. And it's a good piece. It's quite short, about 20 minutes, and it's got 4 very contrasting movements. And although I'd never have the bottle to play it completely without the copy, it's a piece I know very well. So I don't look at the music very much, and if I'm on my own, sometimes I have to turn 2 or 3 pages because I've gone on without having to be totally dependent on the copy, which is a real plus.
The University of Huddersfield, inspiring tomorrow's professionals.